everybody, it's Mariana with 3 Peaks Classroom. I am a grade 3 or grade 4 teacher, depending on the year. I teach in Alberta, Canada, and I love to make helpful YouTube videos for other educators. In today's video, I want to talk about my guided reading cheat sheet that I have put together to help you in your classroom so that you can easily find a strategy that you want to work on with your guided reading students. If you were jumping into this episode, I have recorded 2 other videos all about guided reading. I will link them down below. In the first episode, I talk about why it's not too late to start guided reading, even if you are as nervous as heck, like I was my very first year of teaching grade 3. And in my second video, I talk about what does an ideal guided reading session look like? How do you prepare for one? What kinds of activities can you do with the kids? What are materials or resources that could be really helpful for you? I will link those videos down below. Before I dive into this cheat sheet, if you want to grab yourself a free copy, you can head over to my website at 3peaksclassroom.com/guided reading. And here you will have 4 pages of strategies that you can use for your guided reading groups. I have them divided into 2 parts. One is for decoding and one is for comprehension. I'm going to start with going over some of the decoding strategies because I feel like in today's climate with our COVID kids, I feel like a lot of our guided reading sessions are going to be devoted to decoding. This is by no means a comprehensive or exhaustive list of strategies. These are just ones that are quite frequent, ones that I saw in my classroom quite frequently. But we all know that we need a foundation, a basic foundation before we can even begin to decode. If you have students in your class, like I did, who didn't even know all of their letter sounds, that is where you need to begin first. It doesn't matter about decoding or comprehension. If they don't even know letter sounds or letter recognition, that is what you need to work on first. So let's just keep in mind the reading progression. And I wrote the steps here down. We know that the reading progression starts with step 1, and that is pre-reading behaviors. Can the child make up nonsense rhymes? Do they have any concept that print holds meaning? Do they know the right orientation of a book? Do they know to look to the left side to the right side? Those are all pre-reading concepts. They need to have that first before they can move on to letters. This is what a lot of the focus is on in kindergarten. Can you identify all the letters in the alphabet? Can you make the sounds? Can you point out certain letters in words? So we're focusing a lot about learning the letters. Step number 3, or the next step in the progression, is blending. And that's where these cards come in. In my previous videos, I talked about my need for having these cards in my class. I had a student that very rarely came to school. And so this student was working on letter sounds and blending as well. And so I had these cards ready to go. In case that student ever showed up into my class, I could work on that with that student quite readily. But we know that the next step is blending. This is where those decoding woes can begin. Students may have struggles, with the wrong beginning or the ending sound, or maybe they're having difficulties blending all of the letters together, like at, hat, right? So that's the next step here, is working on those blending sounds, blending letters. Step number 4, or it's like a subset, is sight words. So after students are working on blending the letters, this is where they can start to begin to memorize some sight words. A lot of your students could be struggling with sight words as well. So that's just an area to keep in mind. After that, we move into word families and word groupings. This is my favorite category actually, because there's so many options for games or activities like word work here. I love doing activities with word families. Lots of fun playing with words at this stage. And the importance of rhyming in this stage cannot be understated. So really focus on rhyming and onset and rhyme and all of that. After you have fun playing with word families and rhymes, then the last kind of basic foundational step is basic phonics, like blends, digraphs, R-controlled words, things like that. This is where a lot of students would probably struggle with in grades 3 and 4, and this is where they're probably going to need some of your help. Once you've noticed that they have those basic foundational phonics skills, that's when you can start to work on reading more fluently with them, or they can confidently tackle reading harder words. And we know once they can start reading a bit more fluently, it's not so jagged, start and stop, that's when you can start working on comprehension or higher level thinking questions like, why do you think the author wrote the book this way, or yada yada. We're focusing on building up those reading blocks first. Once you have a really good idea of where your students are at in that reading progression and their struggles, then that's when you can use this cheat sheet to help you out. Let's say you have students that are struggling with decoding. I have 2 pages here. This page talks about some beginning decoding strategy woes, and this one is just general decoding strategies. So starting with the beginning ones, you might have students that struggle saying the wrong beginning sound of a word, or maybe they say the first letter of the word and then they just guess the rest of it. They could replace sight words with other sight words. So maybe their cueing system is kind of triggering wrong, or maybe they're replacing a vowel sound. So those are some of my beginning decoding strategies, decoding woes, I should say. Here you have a list of beginning decoding struggles that kids might have, their strategies, and some prompts you might want to suggest. Again, there's a ton of decoding strategies here that would be very helpful for students that are in those building block stages. Now, if students are moving into the more comprehensive side, maybe they are struggling with comprehension, like maybe they have those building blocks down and they're ready to tackle some harder words. Here I have a list of beginning comprehension strategies and just regular comprehension strategies. If a student can't even answer the question, tell me what you just read about, or tell me what happened in the story on this page or these pages, you want to try the strategy check for understanding. Maybe they need help retelling a story, summarizing a story, determining the main idea of a story, monitoring comprehension while they are reading. Maybe they have difficulties visualizing the story. There's a bunch of struggles and woes here. Here are the strategies, and again, here are the prompts that you can say, or the cues that you can say to help the students. We should not be worrying about these strategies if our students are struggling in that reading progression. If they are having a really hard time just blending words or whatever, that is the main focus. Once they have those building blocks, then they can practice and you can start building in these comprehension strategies. I've said it before in previous videos, but I'll say it again in this video. The whole premise behind guided reading, it's not this abstract thing. The whole premise about guided reading is just to meet students where they are, and you as the teacher are helping them, you're scaffolding them a little bit so they can become more successful readers. I would love to hear how guided reading is going or not going in your classrooms. You can please leave me a comment down below in the comments. Also, if you have a question about anything that you've seen in this entire series, if you want to ask me a question about my materials or my resources or my cheat sheet, whatever, feel free to leave me a question down below in the comments. I will love to respond to you there as well. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up so that YouTube's algorithms can send this video out to other teachers to help them get over the nerves and struggles of doing guided reading in their classrooms. Also, if you haven't subscribed, you might want to hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss any videos that I have coming up in the future where I talk about all things to do in our classrooms. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.